If you're like me, you may want so many more things in your life. You may want different from your current reality. And yet you're running into the same blocks, the same amount of resistance, the same types of people that you don't want in your life anymore. And while we should definitely change our external experiences as well, it is very important to change our internal experiences, our limiting beliefs, which is probably the reason why we keep running into these issues. So in this episode, I'm going to talk all about how to let go of your limiting beliefs so you can finally live your best life. Hello, welcome, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Arielle. This is Feeling My Feelings, where I finally feel my feelings after years of dissociating from them. And honestly, years of judging myself for having feelings at all. After years of having limiting beliefs limiting beliefs around emotions other than happiness. I mean, isn't that so true? Like, unless you are happy or unless you feel confident, all the other emotions are apparently bad. But okay, anyway, in today's episode, I really want to talk about all the resistance that we have to changing ourselves and how that's really rooted in these strongly held, probably long believed limiting beliefs. They're really holding us back. And I feel like I've unlocked a couple of reasons why we haven't been able to change them yet. So let's get into it. First of all, what are limiting beliefs and where do they come from? Where do you think they come from? All that childhood trauma, also just being raised to fear things, they come from a lot of emotional responses. They come from whatever we had to do to survive. But let's keep in mind, we don't want to build belief systems based on our trauma responses and our reactions. So here's a really strongly, common limiting belief that a lot of women have. All men are bad. Why do we have that belief? Probably because we have seen men in the world, we've dated men, we've known many a fucked up man. So isn't it easier for us to protect ourselves and just say, all men are bad, man? So we can't really dispel half the population. So what do we do if we always believe men are bad, but we have to live amongst them anyway? I think that's a really simple example, but it's true. Especially I've seen a lot of friends, a lot of people who are dating who have these snap blanket statement judgments about men are always going to take advantage of you. Men are always bad. Men who do this will always do this and will always cheat on you. These are limiting beliefs because they do not encourage growth. They do not encourage you to have a more flexible mind. They just falsely make you believe that you are protected, but they are limiting you from thinking any better thoughts. So our limiting beliefs, like most things, like most negative things in our life, come from just this need to overprotect ourselves. And they also are often projections from other people and their limiting beliefs. Of course, I'm gonna think that the world is scary if my parents taught me that. But eventually you realize you have the ability. Your mind is supposed to be more flexible than that. Humans have consciousness. We have a sense of morality. We have all the power in the world to change our thoughts, to change our responses, and to become who we want to be. So, how do we do that? Here's the thing. We should definitely think better thoughts. We need to change our beliefs and the way that we think about things. However, that's not the only solution. And also, I'm pretty sure we've always tried to just do that and it still hasn't stuck. Like, doesn't it annoy you? It annoys me. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when I get advice from somebody, when I go to a therapist, and I'm like, I'm feeling shy. I'm not feeling like really good about myself. Like, I don't know, I'm not good enough. And they're like, you know what? I'm about to change your life. Come closer. Be confident in yourself. Believe in yourself. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. Every single movie right now, all of these like inspo posts on social media, all of them are like, love yourself, yeah. And like, wow, it really helps. It's really important for that to be reinforced. That needs to be out on media, social media, film, TV, whatever. We've been known that. We've been told that our whole lives, and yet it doesn't change anything. So it seems like we gotta dig deeper than just acknowledging that we need to change, than acknowledging that my thoughts should be better. However, think better thoughts though. At least start there. Even if your body doesn't believe it yet, even if you don't believe it fully yet, you should definitely start there, okay? It does help to do affirmations. It does help to always be fed better thoughts, better social media, better culture that teaches you to like yourself, to want more for yourself. However, if that doesn't work enough for you, here are the next things. Okay, so fine, let's think better thoughts. Maybe we need to think a little bit deeper about why those thoughts aren't working. So I recently watched a video by Leora Alexandria. She does a lot of personal development content. I love her. And she has this method of basically rewriting your limiting beliefs. Not only rewriting them, but write down how you feel, what resistance comes up when you try to rewrite them. So honestly, it's really important to not censor yourself in these moments where you are talking to yourself, where you're trying to listen to the reasoning behind your resistance. If your thought is that my passions, my art will never make money, write that down in one column as the limiting belief, then have a second column for the belief that I'd like to have. My art does make money. And then write a column for what's the resistance. So if I were to do that, it would be like, well, every time I've tried to make money off my art, like no one ever buys it. Like everyone thinks you have to be the very best to be an artist. Everyone thinks, and so you'll probably get a lot of other limiting beliefs. You'll get a lot of your own fears. You'll tap into all of these different, like this whole well of deeper issues and reasons why you never believed the more growth-oriented thought. So for me, I'm like, I have all these different reasons why I believe art doesn't make money. And so the next column you make is, how about you write down all the reasons why that resistance is not true. So maybe it is, well, people make money off art. I've seen evidence that someone does. And if a thought comes to your head like, yeah, but they're all really good. Okay, so why don't you search for examples of people who aren't that good but still make money? That exists. That definitely exists. Why don't you look up examples of all the people who have proven your limiting belief wrong and get very detailed with it? Maybe there are people your same age. Maybe there are people who started later. Maybe there are people of your same race. Maybe there are people of your same economic status. Maybe there are people who are as shy or as quiet or as loud or as messy or as organized or as stiff, whatever, as you. I know that that's kind of annoying, but that's also a sneaky way of doing inspo and motivation. You know, let's try to figure out ways to prove the initial limiting belief statement wrong. And also, make sure you listen to that resistance. You don't have to shame yourself for the resistance you have and for the limiting belief. I think it just wants to be heard and listened to. And maybe if you finally listen to it, if you finally let it out and be expressed, it'll be easier to let it go. Let it go. Okay, that's the only time I'll do that. Okay, so a big thing that I am dealing with right now is resistance to change. It's really funny because it's like I have proven to myself that I can think better thoughts, that I can even disprove my limiting beliefs. However, it's almost like I don't want to change them yet. As much as I also hold all of these other ambitions, this dream reality, this dream self, most of the time, I honestly haven't been able to change unless something more traumatic has happened. So that tells me that I have learned a lot of how to take action, how to build beliefs, how to move in life based on bad experiences, based on reactions to bad things. And I think a lot of us can relate. And honestly, it's very human. A lot of us feel like there's so much going on, especially depending on what's going on in your life, that we're accustomed to always be on guard and to mostly live in somewhat of a survival mode. And so looking at this, I realized that there's some sort of safety and familiarity in our limiting beliefs. I mean, again, if you think all men are bad, of course it's safer to not be around men, to not date men at all. Of course, if you feel like your art will never make money, it will always feel safer, in a way, to just not try to make art at all or not rely on it for money. And in that way, you don't risk anything new. You don't risk having to jump into something that you've never experienced. At least you have a guarantee, you have a familiar pattern that you can fall into that gives you some sort of results, even if they're not exactly what you want. Isn't this crazy? Again, everything goes back to feelings of safety. A huge reason why a lot of us have limiting beliefs is because we've learned to be people pleasers, to be somewhat dependent on other people for how we live our lives. And this is an interesting way to let go of limiting beliefs, but for me, I know that if I do things just based on just my own self-fulfillment, it somehow feels lonely. It somehow feels like it's not enough. And I know that I'm trying to build up a self that has a strong relationship with herself. It almost feels boring if I just do things for myself. It almost feels boring to have belief systems that are healthier. There was some sort of dynamic. There's some sort of, at least, even if it wasn't healthy, there was relationships, there was stuff to do, there's stuff that's familiar when I build belief systems and habits around pleasing other people. Without all of that, I'm not sure who's in my life. I'm not sure how to get approval. I'm not sure how to bring in better relationships and love and healthier interactions with the world. I just have me. And there's something really lonely about that. And so we often default to all the habits that are always having to do with other people, that are always in reaction to other people, because isn't it boring and aren't you lonely otherwise? I know this is an interesting concept, but this is something that I've started to feel in myself as a huge form of resistance. And I think it comes back to the idea that ultimately all of us are looking for compassion and love. When it comes to your limiting beliefs, a lot of us base it off of this one primal, very human thing. I'm gonna think the way that I do because I need to be liked, I need to be safe, I need to please people, and I cannot be left or abandoned. So I'm doing all these overly self-protective things in a way for some form of love. And if I don't, I won't be loved. I know that's deep. And it's like everything, but everything is love. All you need is love. Okay, that's a thing to think about. Here is an interesting concept, but something that I have really learned lately. So as much as my mind can change my limiting beliefs, as much as I have tried to reinforce being more mature, trying to react differently, I will have moments where I feel like I have overcome my limiting beliefs, but something might happen where I get triggered again, And then I fall back into my old reaction patterns and it all floods out. I start, reacting like my inner wounded child. I start crying again and I'm like, great, I'm back to square one. Why did I try to change anyway? Maybe I need to just nip this in the bud and I just gotta move on with my life and stop trying to personally develop. And I realized that, this happened this past week where I was in a safe space. I was talking to my therapist. This is the best space for this thing to happen though, which is good. But he was talking to me about being open to better in my life. Like one of my core limiting beliefs is like, oh, I have to mask myself. I have to change myself to please others. And he's like, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if you were able to take off that mask and be whatever you wanted to be? And I thought about it for a moment, and then I started to get triggered for some reason, because that is my resistance. He was trying to break my limiting belief, but I didn't want it to be broken yet. So I started going, no, but I can't because blah, 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 because people are this, because blah, 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 because I can, and it keeps being proven to me, and I am stuck. Even though consciously I knew that it was wrong, it was almost like my body reacted. Obviously, there's repressed emotions, but that's part of it. Obviously, there's because I was in a safer, more intimate space, because someone was actually trying to sort of goad me, I ended up outbursting. So part of this is it's really good to start feeling your repressed emotions, but also a lot of this is you may be wired, your nervous system may be wired to still be triggered. Not only does your mind have to change, but your body has to experience different. You have physical habits now, physical reactions that come up that you might not be consciously aware of. So how do we retrain the body to feel safer? For me, even though these things just feel like common sense, I'm at a point where I've ended up having gut issues. So it's not that, oh, just eating better will be good for you. It's no, now I'm forced to eat better. I have to, because I have gotten to that state. Now I kind of have to work out to fix my posture because I've gotten that far gone and in that state. And when it comes to meditation in the mind, I have had to actually take more breaks, do red light therapy. I have a whole video based on how to calm your nervous system, but I've had to take steps to do this regularly. Again, not just because it's good for you, not just because I should, but because I have gotten my body to a state where I actually need to undo this because my body keeps reacting. So something physical literally needs to change because it is a holistic issue in me now. And that's really frustrating because, for me, it's God, I have to do so much work. God, now I have to take so much time in my life to rest. I don't have enough time to just keep going, pursue my dreams. Why can't my thoughts just do this for me? I know, that's really frustrating. However, maybe when you get to these better habits, you'll realize, yeah, my body always sort of deserved these better habits. And maybe in its constant triggering, maybe whenever I react and get triggered like a child, maybe my body's telling me it wants to do something different, on a daily basis. Maybe it wants to sit and do red light therapy and meditate for a second, or at least it doesn't want to be in a heightened state this often anymore. And as much as my mind might say this is a waste of time, you are a holistic being. Your mind is going to feed your body. What's happening with your body is going to feed your mind. Also, I gotta say, with my posture issues, with gut health issues, it's a vicious cycle where they feed each other. I don't know, chicken or the egg, which thing is causing it now. It feels like all the things that are good for us It feels like we have gotten to a point where we've learned to just do those things because we should, because our mom told us to, because we would be shamed otherwise. We need to eat healthy to get a gold star. We need to take breaks in order to tell everyone that I have healthy mental health. Like, all this stuff isn't for everybody else. It's not for approval. It is literally for your health. And if you keep thinking that your healthy habits are just for approval, they're obviously not for you, and there's some deeper digging to keep doing. Are your beliefs things that you chose? Things that your conscious, intentional adult self want to live by? Or are they projections? Or are they responses to traumatic events? How often do we actually get to look at our limiting beliefs? I mean, this is a weird question, but again, if you're watching this video, you are open enough to change. So at least you're taking the time to start becoming more self-aware. And I don't think that a lot of people know that they can do that. Again, a lot of us are running around reacting. I know I am. I know I'm even working on myself, and I'm going, I still have these things that haven't changed. I think it's important to realize that we can be flexible, that we are in control, that external things, as much as they come at us, are things that we can leave, that we can build boundaries around. And what we can always do is take care of how we respond and how we can change and let go. You can't live your life based on how to please other people, how to not make anyone upset. Maybe if you're like me, you often feel guilt for thinking differently than the people around you. Once we start becoming more self-aware, we can start slowly making little habits, making little changes, and maybe that'll, be a domino effect, and it will encourage the people around us. Because I will say, it always helps when one person starts to do a positive change, because it does prove to other people that it's possible.
Okay, so I didn't include this in the video, but go do something. Get out of your comfort zone. Maybe, honestly, you can omit everything else in this video, be aware of it, but whatever you need to do, you get to go out and change your limiting beliefs, change your life by making a change.